Most people think coffee is either a guilty pleasure or a healthy habit. But research now shows certain coffees can silently raise blood pressure, trigger heart arrhythmias, and even increase stroke risk, especially in adults over 60. Today's episode is a wake-up call. Welcome back to the Senior Health Podcast. Today, we're exploring the 4 coffees most likely to harm your health after 60, and the 4 that can actually protect your heart, brain, and muscles when chosen wisely. Research published in the European Journal of Preventive Cardiology found that certain unfiltered coffee types can raise low-density lipoprotein cholesterol by as much as 45 milligrams per deciliter in just 4 weeks for older adults, a change strongly linked to increased heart disease risk. Yet because these effects build slowly, many people mistake the warning signs for normal aging, losing precious years before making a simple switch that could restore their energy, focus, and circulation. So sitting across from me today is someone who's seen this in thousands of patients and lived long enough to watch science confirm it. At over a century old, still practicing and teaching, his insight is unmatched. I can't think of anyone better to help us separate coffee's myths from its realities. Welcome back, Doctor.
Thank you for the kind words, John. But let me ask you, if the same drink can be either a medicine or a slow toxin, depending only on how it's made, why do so few people know which one they're pouring every morning?
That's a question that's going to make a lot of people listening stop and think. And I'd like to hear from those of you tuning in if you've ever switched your coffee and actually felt a difference.
The truth is, coffee's health effects after 60 are not about whether you drink it, but how you drink it. I see it in the clinic every year. Fatigue blamed on age when it's really cholesterol rising from unfiltered brewing, or brain fog linked to a healthy decaf made with chemical solvents. It's common, it's overlooked, and it quietly chips away at vitality. In this episode, we're going to uncover the 4 types of coffee most likely to cause harm after 60, and the 4 that can help protect your memory, lower inflammation, and keep your muscles strong. We'll move step by step, first through the hidden risks, then through the science-backed upgrades that make coffee work for you instead of against you. And if you listen to the end, you'll walk away knowing exactly which small changes can make the biggest difference in your daily health.
So the symptoms might be real, but if we miss the cause, we misread the solution.
Exactly. We'll walk through these 8 coffees in detail, explaining why some quietly damage the heart, brain, or kidneys, and why others can help you think clearer, move easier, and feel stronger. By the time we finish, you'll know how to turn your morning cup into one of the simplest, most powerful tools for healthy aging.
You know, hearing that reminds me of my Uncle Robert. In his late 70s, still sharp, he never missed his morning ritual, a big mug of coffee boiled on the stove in an old metal pot. Over time, his cholesterol climbed, fatigue set in, and indigestion became constant. Tests and diet changes didn't help until we linked it to his unfiltered coffee. Switching to a paper filter brought his cholesterol down, restored his energy, and ended years of heartburn.
That's such a perfect example, John. Not because it's unusual, but because it's so common. I've met countless patients who only discover the real cause when someone takes the time to look beyond the obvious.
So let's start there. The number 1 coffee on your worst and why its hidden additives can quietly chip away at your health.
The number 1 coffee is flavored instant coffee mixes. It may seem harmless, quick to make, pleasant to smell, even advertised with added vitamins or sugar-free claims. But many hide chemical additives like propylene glycol, a petroleum byproduct, that can quietly build up in the kidneys when filtration slows with age. And for seniors, that accumulation can mean subtle fatigue, higher inflammation, and greater strain on the body's detox systems over time.
That's worrying, especially when most people think they're making a lighter, healthier choice. Are you saying even the so-called diet or no-sugar versions can carry these risks?
Yes, because the real issue isn't just sugar. It's the combination of additives, trans fats, and artificial sweeteners that disrupt gut health and blood chemistry. For example, trans fats from hydrogenated oils can raise LDL cholesterol, while certain sweeteners can reduce the diversity of gut bacteria, weakening immunity over the years. When these effects combine, they create a background level of inflammation that many mistake for normal aging aches or slower recovery.
So the harm is more of a slow burn, not an instant reaction that people can easily connect to the coffee itself.
Exactly. That's why people keep drinking it for years. The damage doesn't scream, it whispers until something bigger breaks down. Switching to natural flavoring like pure vanilla or cinnamon keeps the enjoyment but removes the chemical load.
And that's a theme I'm noticing already. The dangerous coffees aren't always the ones that taste bad or feel indulgent. Sometimes they're the ones that seem the most harmless, and that makes them even easier to overlook, which is why in the next part we need to go deeper into the other worst coffees for seniors. And only after that, we'll reveal the choices that can turn coffee into one of the best daily health tools you have.
Artificial non-dairy creamers are another example of something that feels convenient but hides a chemical profile the body was never designed to handle every day. Many contain titanium dioxide, the same whitening agent used in paints, which studies have linked to oxidative stress and DNA damage in human cells. Add to that the hydrogenated oils and processed sugars, and you have a mix that can raise inflammation, disrupt blood sugar, and slowly erode memory and joint health in seniors.
That's a lot of risk packed into something people think of as just a splash in my coffee. How much of that damage is from the creamer itself, and how much is from how often people are using it?
Frequency is a huge part of it because even small amounts build up when consumed daily. And the older we get, the less efficient our detox systems become, meaning more of those compounds stay in circulation. Over months and years, that extra oxidative stress becomes another weight on the heart, brain and immune system, one that most seniors don't even know they're carrying.
So in some ways, the danger is less about a single cup and more about the decades-long pattern behind it.
Exactly, and that's why switching to something as simple as organic whole milk or unsweetened almond milk can make a meaningful difference. You're removing that chemical burden without sacrificing the comfort of a creamy coffee.
And that seems to be the thread in all of these examples so far. Not that coffee itself is the villain, but that the way it's prepared or dressed up can either work with your body or quietly work against it. So now, let's have you walk us through number 3 on the list and why it can be such a hidden problem for seniors.
Number 3 is decaf coffee made with chemical solvents, John. Many seniors switch to decaf, thinking it's the safer choice. No jitters, no racing heart. But a large percentage on store shelves is processed with methylene chloride, an industrial solvent also used in paint strippers. Even in low doses, research shows it can cross the blood-brain barrier and impair mitochondrial function in brain cells, which over time may lead to memory lapses or confusion.
That's alarming, especially for people who are actively trying to make a healthier choice. How common is it to find these chemical processed decafs in regular grocery stores, and is the exposure really that significant over time?
more common than most realize, because unless it's labeled otherwise, chemical processing is often the default method, and when someone drinks multiple cups daily for years, even small traces can create a steady burden on the liver and kidneys, especially in older adults whose detox systems are already working harder.
So what's the safest way to get decaf without those risks?
Look for brands labeled Swiss water process or methylene chloride free. Ideally organic. They use only water, temperature and time to remove caffeine, preserving flavor without adding chemical stress to the body.
That's a practical takeaway, and it highlights something important. Many of these worst coffees aren't about the coffee bean itself, but about what's done to it before it reaches your cup. Which makes me want to hear the fourth and final one on your list. What is it, doctor?
The fourth is unfiltered boiled coffee, which includes French press, Turkish-style brewing, or any method without a paper filter. These leave a natural coffee compound called cafestol in the cup, and cafestol has been shown to raise low-density lipoprotein cholesterol significantly in some seniors by over 40 milligrams per deciliter in just a month. For someone whose arteries are already less flexible with age, that can accelerate plaque buildup and increase the risk of heart attack or stroke.
That's a huge jump in such a short time. I imagine most people think of French press as a purer or even more sophisticated way to drink coffee, not something that could be straining their heart.
That's exactly why it's so often overlooked. And because the harm builds slowly, people may never connect rising cholesterol or worsening blood pressure to the brewing method they've used for years.
So even without sugar or cream, the brewing process alone can still make it risky?
Yes, because the filter is what traps most of the cafestol. Without it, you're drinking all of those oils straight into your system. And for seniors, that extra load on the cardiovascular system matters.
It's interesting because all four of these worst coffees are things many seniors drink daily without realizing the potential consequences. And now that we've gone through them, I think it's the perfect time to shift into the other side of the story. The coffees that can actually support heart health, improve brain clarity, and even help maintain muscle strength well into our 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond.
Let's begin the good side with organic medium roast Arabica brewed with clean filtered water. Arabica beans naturally have higher levels of chlorogenic acid, which reduces inflammation and improves how the body handles blood sugar, both crucial for seniors. And the medium roast preserves these antioxidants while keeping the flavor smooth and gentle on the stomach.
That's a big contrast from what we've just discussed. Is the benefit coming more from the bean variety itself, or from the fact that it's brewed in a certain way?
It's really a combination. The bean provides the nutrient profile, but the brewing method, especially using a paper filter, helps remove compounds like cafestol while keeping the antioxidants intact.
So even the best bean can lose its benefits if it's brewed the wrong way.
Exactly, and the water matters too. Brewing with filtered water avoids adding heavy metals or chlorine that could undermine the health benefits of the coffee.
And this is where I see the shift happening. Now we're not just talking about avoiding harm, we're talking about actively building a cup that works with the body's needs after 60. Which makes me want to keep going and see what the second coffee on your best list can offer, especially for seniors dealing with digestion or acid sensitivity.
The second is cold brew concentrate, which is steeped in cold water for 12 to 24 hours instead of using boiling water. This process reduces acidity by up to 70%, making it far gentler on the stomach for seniors with acid reflux or gastritis. it also preserves more antioxidants and magnesium, both of which help support heart rhythm, blood vessel health, and even vision as we age.
That's interesting. I know many people think of cold brew as more of a cafe trend than a health choice. Are these benefits really noticeable if someone switches from hot coffee to cold brew?
In many cases, yes. I've seen patients who couldn't tolerate regular coffee for years drink cold brew without the discomfort, and over time they often report steadier energy and less afternoon fatigue.
That tells me this isn't just about comfort, it's about giving seniors a way to keep enjoying coffee without the side effects that might otherwise force them to give it up. And it makes me curious to hear about the next one, because we've covered heart health, blood sugar, digestion. Now I wonder how coffee can also support joints, bones, and muscle strength.
That brings us to coffee with collagen peptides, which turns a simple cup into joint and bone support. Collagen is the main structural protein in our body, but after 50, we lose about 1 to 1.5% each year. Adding hydrolyzed collagen to coffee provides the amino acids needed to rebuild cartilage, strengthen bones, and maintain skin elasticity, all without changing the coffee's flavor.
That's a fascinating idea. Most people think of collagen as a skincare supplement, not something that can actually improve mobility. Have you seen noticeable results in seniors who make this a daily habit?
Yes, especially when combined with light exercise. Over months, many report less stiffness, better balance, and a greater sense of stability when walking or climbing stairs.
It's encouraging to hear that something as small as stirring in a scoop can help preserve independence. And now I can't help but wonder, if we've already covered heart health, digestion, and mobility, what's left for the final coffee on your list that could possibly top these benefits?
The last one is coffee with MCT oil and Ceylon cinnamon, a combination that fuels both the brain and the body. MCT oil is converted into ketones, which give the brain a clean, steady energy source even when glucose metabolism slows with age. Ceylon cinnamon adds anti-inflammatory and blood sugar stabilizing benefits, helping circulation and reducing strain on the heart.
That's a powerful mix, and it sounds like it could help with mental clarity first thing in the morning. How quickly do people usually notice the effects when they start this?
For many, it's within days. More focus, fewer energy crashes, and even less joint stiffness. The key is using true Ceylon cinnamon, not the more common cassia type, to avoid excessive coumarin intake.
It strikes me that all four of these best coffees have one thing in common. They work with the body's needs after 60 instead of against them. And now that we've covered the full spectrum from worst to best, it's time to help our listeners understand how to make the switch without feeling like they're giving up the coffee they love.
Making the switch starts with small, deliberate steps rather than an overnight overhaul. Begin by replacing just 1 cup of your usual coffee with a healthier version so your taste buds and routine adjust naturally. Over time, as your energy, digestion, or lab numbers improve, the motivation to replace the rest comes easily.
That's reassuring, because I know a lot of people feel overwhelmed when they hear a long list of changes. How important is it to make these swaps consistently rather than just once in a while?
Consistency is where the real benefits show up. A single healthy cup won't undo years of habits, but steady changes build the kind of long-term protection that matters most after 60.
It's almost like treating your morning coffee as a form of daily medicine, not in the sense of giving something up, but in the sense of adding something that actively supports your health. And with that in mind, I think we should wrap this up by giving our listeners a clear picture of what their coffee routine could look like starting tomorrow morning.
The most important thing to remember is that coffee itself is not the enemy. It's how it's chosen, prepared, and paired that makes the difference. By swapping out harmful brewing methods or additives for options that support the heart, brain, and joints, seniors can keep their morning ritual and gain health benefits at the same time. It's about making your coffee work for you, not against you.
That's such a valuable perspective because it takes away the fear and replaces it with empowerment. We've shown that even small tweaks, like a paper filter, filtered water, or a functional add-in, can transform coffee from a hidden risk into a health tool. And I think listeners will be surprised by how quickly they can feel the difference once they start. Before we wrap up, could you leave us with a one-liner that sums up your message today?
Your morning coffee can be a daily habit that quietly harms you, or a daily habit that actively protects you. The choice is yours, and that choice is easier than most people realize.
I love that because it's practical and motivating at the same time. So if you're listening, start with just one change we've talked about today and notice how you feel in the weeks ahead. If this episode opened your eyes, share it with someone who might be drinking the wrong kind of coffee. And let us know in the comments which change you'll try first, or the difference you've already noticed.